Axis of Advance 1 for several reasons. First off, it keeps us within view of most of the battalion and allows them to overwatch our movement until we're in pretty much on top of our assault by fire positions. Secondly, it gives us lots of room to assault the enemy position by fire. The Hill 558 and the surrounding terrain provides good views towards Spa Ken, and if the enemy divisional HQ is there, we should be able to destroy them relatively easily from range. Whereas with AA2, we're going to have to maneuver out of that valley, and that's going to leave us exposed to pretty much everything to the northeast of that area towards phase line Banger. Whereas with AA1, we can come up, hold down positions, shoot them up, and then fall back if we need to. You know?
Yeah, I mean the advantage of AA2 is that it's a covered route, but then again, it also provides all sorts of bottleneck issues, as you pointed out. So I'm going to leave that at your discretion. You can go along AA1. You can commit the entire scout section there, or you can split them up, whatever you want to do. You can also have the squad down there do an infiltration along AA2 if you want. They can begin the operation by doing a foot infiltration.
So, my intention was for AA1 to be our main effort, but I would like the scouts form an infiltration along AA2 in case shit falls apart and we have to. At least we'll have somewhat proved the route or know that it's not going to work.
If AA2 proves to be an especially good route, we can also send the battalion reserve there to assist in the raid.
Alright. So.
But I agree, I think AA1 is better. It's just we don't know what's on the other side of that ridge.
Right.
It shouldn't be much. It should be a battalion of light troops with no tanks, but we do know that the divisional reserve and the regiment's tank battalion in the center is unaccounted for, so it's a little risky attacking over that ridge. And so far, our furthest element has been Crazy Horse Troop is currently northeast of the Flot right now, but they're unaccounted for at this time. They haven't sent any status reports or conduct reports yet, so and they haven't located the enemy reserve. So you're basically on your own until you get over that ridge.
Yeah. Well, the reason I like it is because A1 is that you're right. We don't know what's on the other side of the ridge, but we're just as susceptible to whatever's on those ridges coming out of the valley at AA2. In fact, I think we're more susceptible because we'll have to come out one platoon at a time and deploy online. And our options of going backwards if shit's bad is very limited.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, my primary concerns with AA1 is going to be infantry in close on Hill 520 or 558.
Well, those hills will be completely saturated. They'll no longer exist. I know that. Okay. I think the brigade has every gun dedicated to shooting at those hills.
Right.
I can guarantee you that they will be saturated. If there's any enemy on those hills, they will not be there by the time the prep fires are over.
Understood.
And I believe it's a 300 round fire mission or something like that. So it's about I want to say almost 80 rounds per hill, something like that.
I have a pretty good maneuver plan. I'm gonna run this by you really quick, Kraus.
Okay.
Okay, so you want us to step off pretty much immediately, right, towards the raid?
I want you to start doing recce in 10 minutes after H hour. Within 10 minutes.
Okay.
The current time is 1600.
Mm-hmm.
And at 1610, I want you to begin a route recce of the objective.
Gotcha. So My plan is as follows.
You can recce for as long as you want, as long as you're back to the assembly area within an hour and a half.
Right. So I'm gonna give my guys initial positions for their platoons. They'll hold the defensive inside of the assembly area building, or some basically. So the 2 tank platoons and the mech platoon will be in the assembly area in fixed positions against any potential enemy counterattack while the scouts begin phase 1 of the recce. Scouts are going to move across the bridge directly east of the northern part of the assembly area, and then are going to proceed northeast towards axis of advance 1.
Okay.
All right. Once they reach the approximately 165 easting, I'm going to have the rest of the company begin moving. I'll have my 2 tank platoons in front, followed by the mech platoon. We'll move across the exact same route, and we'll take up temporary or intermediate positions in 1 or 6110. There's some good positions there. I'm going to put my one tank platoon watching north, and the other one watching east, with my mech platoon providing security. We're going to overwatch the scouts as they proof area advance 1, or axis of advance 1. We'll call my plan is, as the scouts, so as my company closes up with my scouts, or correction, as the I just thinking about when I want to drop the fires. So we should give cover for the scouts. So as the scouts cross the 6-1 easting, let's have the fires go in on those 2 hills.
Roger. I need you to radio that when you need it.
Yeah.
But
Roger, I will.
But as far as planning is concerned, that's fine.
All right. So as soon as the fires go in, my company will begin closing up fairly shortly. Scouts will halt once the company's close to closing up. They'll continue. My next crossing point is going to be the bridge to the east or to the west of Reinhard's. Go ahead and cross that bridge and then move up axis of advance 1 towards our assault by fire positions. Scouts, I'll have them move onto hill 558, onto the north slope, and push up dismount teams towards the top of the hill to get eyes on the Spall-Ketten area, basically an attempt to locate the division HQ exactly. One thing of concern, reference houses at the northeastern extent of axis of advance 1. I'd like a fire mission on those as the scouts are approaching Hill 558 to neutralize any enemy forces that would be using those as a protection, because that's pretty much exactly where I want to put my main effort in terms of our raiding force.
Okay, you're gonna have to use the organic artillery to deal with that. So
right.
brigade's going to be dealing with the hills, I need you to use the paladins that have been assigned to you, as well as the 120 mil mortars to deal with that point fire.
Understood. All right. Assuming that active advance 1 can be proved by the scouts, we'll have the company to forward. My intent is for my tank platoons to occupy the spur that runs north of Hill 558 with whoever I think my most trusted or best equipped tank platoon will be the main effort there. They will attack any divisional elements by fire that we can locate. My mech platoon will move north towards Hill 520 and establish a security position against any enemy forces moving in from the north part near Oberzachenbach. Oberzachenbach. What a cool name. Anyways, so yeah, that's the mech platoon's tasking is they'll set up those little like tree lines and stuff. We'll set up a bunch of anti-tank ambushes there, so that if they try to infiltrate from our north flank, we'll destroy them. The scouts will move to the right of Hill 558, and they should give us warning if they're trying to do the same thing on our south. The tanks will destroy divisional elements by fire, and then I'll have them basically bound backwards to the initial positions that we had just occupied, the ones that are below the axis advance on the west side of Reinhardt's, and then the mech platoon, the scout platoon will pass through them, and then we'll all fall back to the battalion or the assembly area and reoccupy our initial positions.
Okay, I have one concern. What if the enemy headquarters is not in the vicinity of Spall, but it's in the vicinity of Kedden, or even south east of that by Rockenstuhl?
Right. So if you view the terrain, we will have very good eyes on almost the entire expanse of from between Spall and Kedden. The only time that won't be the case is if, like you said, it's to the east of Kedden, or to the west. Basically anything south of the 1-1 northing, we don't have eyes on. But if you look at Hill 520, where I was going to put the mech platoon, if you look off of that hill, you can actually see farther south towards Kedden, but you still can't see south of the 1-1 easting. So if the scouts fail to locate the divisional headquarters, we'll have a contingency plan. The ideal would be to try to maneuver through the terrain there. I'll get the terrain again. Yeah, it's pretty. Ketten's pretty in that fold. So unfortunately for that, we'd have to go Axis Advance 2. I'm pretty sure there's not a very good way to get those guys from Axis Advance 1. Unfortunately, I don't want to drive my my company into Spal and be orienting south, because there's a lot of bad things that could happen if that. I don't think we have enough combat power to do that. What's your assessment of that?
Yeah, that's correct. The enemy reserve is somewhere in this vicinity, and I think they're either going to come from the north or from the east, in those wide open areas.
That would be my assessment as well. I if the scouts fail to locate the headquarters, we'll bound back to the assembly area, and then hopefully we'll have had those dismount guys proving the route towards AA2, so we'll be able to conduct a faster recce in that direction. But we'll have to kind of start over. I mean, just as if we had gone AA2, there's a chance that the enemy could be near Spal, and we wouldn't be able to see them very well from there. So it's kind of,
well, if you complete the recce before you step out of the assembly area, then you wouldn't have to shoot. You wouldn't have to reverse. And if you did reverse, you would probably be spotted.
Right.
So if you go to the assembly area if you have the initial ORP west of Reinhardt's, and the enemy is not in the vicinity of Spal and they're somewhere to the southeast, then you're going to have to drive all the way around, and you're probably going to be interdicted by fire and caught out in the open. The enemy could have scouts on those hills. There's no way to know.
Right. No, I agree. The reason I want to do the ORV is because if the scouts are able to attain the location of the divisional headquarters elements, which I consider a fair chance given the fact that I think that the position we're talking about has the best eyes towards the location that you can get, then we'll be able to conduct the raid quickly. Before they have a chance to, because if the scouts spot the divisional headquarters and then they begin to move, I mean, we're kind of SOL at that point.
Yeah, well, you'll lose the element of surprise or the initiative.
Right. So I would rather plan to have the initiative, and I believe another course of action, which is likely, is that the scouts move up and we see the divisional reserve moving in from the north. And if that's the case, having set the conditions to occupy that area around Axis Advance 1, my company would be able to move forward and attack the enemy reserve by fire, and then bound back, and I believe we could give them a pretty good bloody nose before they hit the rest of the brigade and break up their attack before they reach our main line of resistance.
That sounds reasonable.
So either way, I think we're occupying a piece of terrain that's going to put us in a good position to kill a lot of bad guys. And even if we don't end up killing the divisional headquarters as our objective was, I think there's a good chance that we interdict or spoil the attack of any counterattack that they're sending that way.
Indeed. Well, in theory, if they're coming from the north, we'll know about it because Crazy Horse is over there. Crazy Horse troop. They should run into the enemy reserve before we do. That's why they were put out there by the brigade commander. I don't know if that's actually gonna pay off, but we haven't had contact with them in a while.
Right.
So I agree with your analysis, and you're clear to move forward with that plan. The only note I will make is that as soon as we get in, you need to send that dismount squad by OP Alpha. They need to start trucking it towards Kedon.
Axis Advance 2, yeah.
And they're going to be unsupported, so you're going to have to make sure they stay in cover and they stay out of sight. The enemy could have ambushes along that road, and they probably do, along Route Zeus, running from Kermes to Gotthard's to Kedon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one advantage that we do have is that since they are not, the majority of the enemy force is not suspected to be combat arms, and because they need to protect the division headquarters, it's unlikely that they're going to be deployed too far forward. So we can expect them to be in the vicinity of the graphics. But that being said, it wouldn't surprise me if they had like a rifle squad or something like that ambushing the roads there, something forward to initiate contact.
I would like to advise. My personal thoughts is that Axis of Advance 2 looks like the perfect terrain to destroy our entire company in.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky advance because if the enemy's not there, though, it's completely covered. That's the advantage of it. But we're not going with that. We're going to go with one. But I still want it right.
My personal assessment is that the risk of the enemy being there is too high, because all it takes for them to disable one vehicle, and we have nowhere to go. Especially along that river there with the trees on our left. That's a perfect. That's like a textbook ambush position.
Well, my idea would be if you were going to go that way, you'd have to clear 638 with infantry. There'd be no other. You wouldn't take the road. The road would be an ambush.
But can the vehicles maneuver up those hills?
They should be able to. But that's beside the fact.
Right.
Make sure you get that the dismounts fourth squad from the second recon section. Make sure they get out there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, understood.
And I'll attach them directly into your commands.
Roger.
Just a 2-man team, so they shouldn't be spotted. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically like an LP.
Can infantry cross these rivers?
I don't think so. Well, actually, they might. I think they should be able to. Not sure, but there's fording points.
Jake has arrived.
Good timing, Jake.
Yeah. So here's my plan. Can you just leave the server up for a minute?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna back brief Jake. Jake and I will drop the graphics, and then I'll let you know, and you can save the plan, and that way you can load it tomorrow.